Who's the leader of the club that's made for you and me? Come on! M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. Hey there, hi there, ho there! You're welcome to me. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. Mickey Mouse, startled up! Mickey Mouse, startled up! Forever let them raise the thunder high, 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 high! Come along and sing the song and join the tambourine. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E.
Are we okay to go back there? All right.
It's anything can happen to me!
All right, I think if any of that was foreign to you, you're probably in the wrong panel. I'm Adam Fessler. I chose today to go under the title of Notable Video Game Personality. Yesterday I was doing Industry Veteran. I think they're all true and completely meaningless all at the same time. But really, I think the reason I'm doing this panel is more that when I was a kid, I was the one who would wait occasionally for Sunday to sit down and watch Wide World of Disney. I was the same kid who was in the backseat of my parents' Dodge Aspen as we drove down to Disneyland. You see that kind of, that look of the Matterhorn. I'm like, okay, I'm excited. I'm all excited. And so it was for that reason I've always been very, very. I was very happy about the original Epic Maybe just in the fact it was being made. That it was, kind of capturing the sense of what young people today still enjoy and what really is just, a fairly iconic aspect of growing up and something I've always enjoyed as an adult, both as animation and just kind of a lot of the lore that's inside of Disney. And that's why I'm moderating this panel today for Epic Mickey 2, The Power of 2. And we have a very, very esteemed group of panelists here. Of course, we have Warren Spector. Great, because I've been talking her ear off for the past 2 days and will continue to happen. Becky Cline, who's the director of the Walt Disney Archives. And right here, we have Marv Wolfman. And part of our panel, his arch rival, Peter David. So what I'd love to do is kind of go down the panel here and talk to everyone about what your role on the game is. Of course, I'm going to start with you, Warren. Of course, since you're the head of Junction Point Studios making the game, you might have a sense of what your role is, but do you have anything you'd like to say to the crowd?
Sure, but before I do that, there's a little bit of public humiliation that we have to do. You may know that we've been giving out Oswald ears. So I have one that says Peter on the back. I have one that says Marv on the back. I have one that says Adam on the back. I have one that says Becky on the back, but she already got hers, so she's going to wear one with nothing on the back. And I'm going to do the same, and I'm going to beg/insist that everyone wear these during the panel, and that everyone take lots of humiliating pictures.
I will destroy Pepperland!
Okay, so I don't even know if I can talk with these things on my head. I'm the creative director at Junction Point, and got the first Disney Epic Mickey game started when Disney asked me if I wanted to do a Mickey Mouse game. I tried to play it cool, like not let them know that I was actually vibrating like the Flash and was about to fall through the floor. But we made that first game and accomplished pretty much all of our goals, actually. The most important one, just looking out here, I don't see a lot of kids, which is cool. I see some. But we wanted to make a game for everyone. And as big a goal as that is, and as crazy as that sounds, when you think about the classic Disney films, and you think about Pixar, no one says, oh yeah, Up was for, 12 to 14-year-old girls. I mean, no one says that Snow White is for 15 to 17-year-old boys. And why can't a game aspire to that? So that's what we did, and we really kind of did that. And we're doing some things to even take that to the next level and really make this an experience that friends and family can enjoy together. We'll get to that in a minute. So the thing is, we've got a bunch of story and history people here. So I'd like to kind of start by showing the intro to the game, which this is, we're debuting here at the show. In there. First of all, obviously we're going back to Wasteland, and Mickey is going to help Oswald save the world again. I gave away a secret. You saw the moment where half the world thinks I'm completely crazy when characters burst into song. Hope y'all like it. Tell Disney.
That tune will be stuck in their head the whole day.
Yeah, next year we're doing Rocky Horror style sing-alongs. You heard every character speaking. Every character speaks every line of dialogue. If you played the first game, no one talked, which I thought was funny because Oswald's a silent film star. And if I can't talk, no one's gonna talk. Well, it didn't quite work out. So everybody talks this time. And a bunch of other improvements which we'll talk about. Now we're taking you some new worlds, new lands to explore. It tells a whole new story, of course, about the possibility of redemption and who do you trust? Is the bad doctor really a hero now or not? It's so crazy every time. But we're going to let you explore Jens's workshop. So here's a little bit of it that we created, and another part that you probably can't see because it's pretty bright here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Really magical place. Other spots. Everybody asks me, are the 2D levels that are inspired by real cartoons coming back? And yes, they are. This one is inspired by the Older Mill, a very important cartoon from 1937 in Disney's history. We've got all new character types and boss battles. This one, anybody know who this is inspired by?
Electrical Parade.
There you go. Okay, I heard every bit of it from different people. It's the dragon float from the Electrical Parade at Disneyland, based on Elliot from Pete's Dragon. And before anybody even asks, you can befriend or defeat absolutely everything in the game. And what you do really makes a difference. So think about how you're playing when I hope every one of you plays it, because paint and thinner and restoring and erasing things really matters in this game at a level that is going to make people forget that there was ever a game called Deus Ex Resistance Shock People. This is a little bit of footage. This is from the PlayStation 3 version. We're on all platforms now, not just Wii. We do support the move. Here's a little
Mickey thought that the very stars were waiting to come alive.
I'll tell you, every map in the game has
Even
a
the
secret.
to dance once more.
We actually showed this level E3 and no one found all the secrets, and even just our quick demo. So if you really go exploring, you can find all sorts of amazing things, hidden missions, hidden obstacles, rewards for those people who don't yet. For those of you who played the first game, we worked very hard to make our camera system much smoother. I'll even tell you, I'll make you a promise. If you play on the Wii, you will never have to touch the manual camera controls. On the 360 and the PS3, the camera controls are tied to your aiming mechanism, so that is not true, but even there, you will have a much, much better experience. So here's something else, we'll talk about this more in a minute, but Oswald is with you every step of the way. He's not just a character that you see in cutscenes or cinematics. And again, I said how you play makes a difference. Well, how you play determines whether you start this battle, whether you befriend or defeat this guy, determines what challenges you face, what enemies you meet. It got very quiet all of a sudden. What rewards you get, and where you leave the map. So it's really huge. Oh, and you want something new? I'll give you something. Okay. Yeah, that was stuff we showed at E3. So this is a land we call the Disney Gulch. And at the end of the first game, the thinner oceans receded and revealed a world of real stuff. A lot of it from Frontierland, which looks sort of like, oh, this is really dark. Okay. It's much brighter than this. But this is one of my favorite places in the game because you play through this one spot and it summarizes everything about the game. There are multiple ways to enter the map, multiple ways to solve the problems in the map. What you do here affects what happens to you on the next map. If you don't like the way the next map looks and feels when you get there, you can come back and change your mind. It's pretty amazing. It sums up the whole game in one rub.
That's simply you think there'd be some spatters around here.
And every character talks. That's the great Frank Welker. If you've ever seen a cartoon, you've heard Frank Welker's voice. He's amazing. All right. And then the big thing. Two-player co-op. I've been wanting to do a two-player co-op game for a long time, and I've always been scared to do it, but this is the time. So Oswald is with you as an AI-controlled character throughout the entire game, using his unique abilities to reprogram and he can either defeat or reprogram animatronic creatures, but he can also fly using his helicopter ears and all sorts of other stuff. He can remove his limbs and use them in interesting, fun ways. It's all stuff we got from Walt Disney. Walt Disney was a game designer and didn't know it. All we had to do was go back and look at his old cartoons and rip off Walt. So anyway, we've got two-player co-ops, and now friends can play together. Those adults and kids who all love the game can go play it together, and Becky can play the game.
Not very well, I'm afraid.
So what I had a couple of questions. In the original game, you sort of thinned out an entire area. You come back and it's kind of the way that it was. Has that changed for this one?
Yeah, let's change completely. There's a word we use in games about choice and consequence. It's called persistence. And you really want it. When you make a change on a map, you want it to be forever. And in the first game, I backed off of that for all sorts of reasons that involved, like, well, okay, normal people didn't get it. Okay? Gamers got the idea that choices had consequences, but normal people didn't. And so we kind of backed off the consequence side of things a little bit. But in this case, I can't do it. My soul will be crushed if I do that again. And luckily, all the normal people who played it said, you know, I want my choices to make a difference. So by the time they got done playing, they got it. And so this time, you make a change, it's forever. You go back to a map, what you've done, it persists. And there are real rewards for, like, if you paint in all of the level, there are really cool rewards. If you erase all of the level, there are completely different rewards, and I hope they're equally cool.
And it sounds like, you know, you really, let's say you just had to paint all the way through. You're going to miss some stuff, and it's going to be worthy to kind of try to fit everything out in the second playthrough.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm a big believer in relatively short play times. This is probably about a 10 to 15 hour game, but we think you have to play it through 3 times to see and do and get everything. You know, there's a paint path, there's a thinner path, there's a sort of a mixed path. And if you make some choices, they'll block off other choices. So we think it takes 3. I say I think because already we've seen people do things that everybody in the team thought was impossible, which is great. That's when for other developers that's a bug. For me, that's I know we've made it, right? That's a good thing. So we were already seeing people use the tools and the simulation in the world, and I'm getting too geeky here, but anyway, they're doing things that we didn't know was possible. So it's possible that someone will figure out how to do things, do everything in less than 3 playthroughs, but right now we don't know how. We couldn't know how to do that on the team.
That's something to discover. Becky, as the director of the archives, and given just the amount of lore, both from the cartoons, the feature films, Pete's Dragon, and the park, I assume that you're used a lot by Warren and his team in terms of describing all this stuff.
I feel very used. Years they're doing. No, I am so excited to be a part of this. As director of the archives, and the whole staff feels the same way. we've been so excited working with Junction Point, and Warren's whole team has just been amazing. And we're so thrilled that they came to us and that they're so into the history of the company, and it's the whole foundation for the game, which is so exciting. And they've done a remarkable job of being true to the Disney history, and I know the fans and especially our D23 members and the folks that are watching us and participating with us in the launch of this game are so excited to see all these wonderful little tidbits that have been put in by these guys. They're doing an amazing job. And we're so excited, especially about kind of the bringing Oswald back to life here. I mean, that's
history about sort of where Oswald started, how he was lost, and then the remarkable acquisition of Oswald by Disney.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and for those of you who don't know a whole lot about Oswald, I'll give you the kind of the Cliff Notes version. Walt Disney and Iwerks created a character in 1927 that was an instant hit. He was a wonderful silent cartoon character, had a series of cartoons called the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit series. And unfortunately, about 26 cartoons in, they lost the rights to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit in a contract dispute with their distributor. It was a man named Charles Mintz, who had been distributing the cartoons through Universal. And we didn't have our own distribution arm at the time, and so Mintz was taking the cartoons and Universal was sending them out to theaters. And in that contract dispute, this is the actual contract you can see up here, and paragraph 15, up in the upper right corner, is the paragraph where Walt, unknowing what he was quite doing, he was still very young at this time and inexperienced, had kind of signed away the rights to the character that he had created. And so the character was taken away from him, as were most of his animators. And on the train ride home back from New York, Walt, of course, had to come up with something quickly and came up with the idea of a new character, became Mickey Mouse. So Oswald was kind of Walt's elder brother in a way. And because we lost the rights to the character, it was over almost 80 years before we got him back. And getting him back was quite an unusual event. But I can only describe it as an in trade. Our CEO, Bob Iger, had the idea to trade Al Michaels, who was a sportscaster for ESPN. He wanted to move over to NBC, who was owned at that time by Universal. So they were negotiating his transfer from one company to the other. And Bob got the great idea to throw in and say, hey, we want Oswald back too.
On a game with Oswald as a co-star when that happened, so we all breathed a sigh of relief.
And so we got Oswald, at least the 26 cartoons that Oswald had been made with Disney, and they're all back in the fold now. And Oswald is gradually getting more and more popular, and I think Epic Mickey and Epic Mickey 2 are going to be even more so. I think he's really coming back into his own, and we had a party for him to come back, but I think we need to have more parties.
So you're saying we came that close to be sitting here wearing Al Michael ears?
He's really excited, I think, to be a trivia question.
Hey, if we do another game, I'm already planning the first rejected human in Wasteland.
Oh dear. So these are just some slides of some of the things that inspired Warren when he was creating the game, and it's just, the character is so funny. And I had forgotten him. I sat down and watched the cartoons again not too long ago, and then we got Hungry Hobos, which was a cartoon that had been lost. There are still a few of them that we just don't have. And watching that, I just laughed and laughed. I thought it was so funny. So these are some of the things that were in the archives that inspired Warren. And we're just really thrilled to be able to have this stuff. So I'm so glad we hung on to this stuff. We held on to it, Walt held on to it, and then in the 70s when we started the archives, it just kind of got kept and put away and restored and safely stored, even though we didn't have the rights to show it or use it. And finally, one day we got it back, and I think Walt will be thrilled.
There's some things actually that we pulled out of the archives that no one's seen that you can uncover in the game. If you go exploring off the beaten path, you'll find some pretty cool Oswald stuff.
I mean, I think that underscores one of the things that was evident in Epic Mickey, and I have every confidence will be in Epic Mickey too, is that just about nothing in the game is not in some way motivated by some aspect of Disney history. I mean, and given the fact that we have this thing called the internet, I assume that you really are like, you're looking for the very, very arcane knowledge that's there in those archives.
Oh, yeah, frankly, one of the things that was coolest about the first game, and I know it's going to be true here too, is almost everything in the game is inspired by something real from Disney's past. I mean, not to like the chests and the barrels and the street lamps and the benches, I mean, everything. And I keep waiting for some D23 fan out there to put together the complete list, because honestly, we don't have one. There are hundreds and hundreds of people work on these games. And so I'm sure there's stuff in there that's real, because if it wasn't real, everybody on my team knows that I would give them one holy heck. Substitute whatever word you want for heck there. There's a little notice here, be aware that many members of your audience may be under 18 years of age. But I want someone to go out there and put together the list of all, the where did that come from game is a fun game to play with these games. I want someone to put together the complete list for you.
Good challenge.
I like that because I would champion you, because I can't figure it all out. Marv, you have been brought in to really kind of flesh out Wasteland and the story. I mean, you're writing the story for Epic Mickey 2, but you also had to write for a character that only existed in silent films and it was never given voice. I mean, what was that like?
Well, it was amazing because the Junction Point guys, with Brian and Chase and everyone else who works with Warren, and I were talking, and every time Warren did Oswald, it was always with a Brooklyn accent. Now,
that's how I always saw it too.
Yeah, Peter had done a graphic novel on the first game, and he talked there, but it wasn't a voice talking, it was a written talking. So we're developing this, and I'm asked at some point, can you do a Brooklyn accent? And I'm going, I was born in Brooklyn. I lived my entire early life in Brooklyn. Yeah, I could do it. Get out of my face. I know exactly what it is. What are you mocking me for? And it fit in so perfectly. And I had remembered the Oswald cartoons. I had seen some when I was a kid on TV. It's hard to remember all the details of them back then, but fortunately when they brought me down to Austin and Junction Point, they were playing them all so I could get reacquainted with them. But it was this incredible thought that we were developing the first spoken dialogue for Oswald in 80-something years, actually longer since he had never spoken, but in all those years, and it was just an amazing thing. I want to add one more. And Warren probably isn't even aware of this because I didn't know all that they were slipping in all these secret things with Disney and stuff. As I was writing dialogue, there are dialogue cues that go back to early Disney movies and things because I'm a big fan of that stuff, and I've always been a big fan of that stuff. For those of you who think I've only done the superhero or the adventure stuff, I was founding editor of Disney Adventures magazine. I was there for the first 4.5 years and only left because they moved all of publishing to New York. Otherwise, I'd still be there today. And I also wrote DuckTales and Mickey Mouse and all that.
Mickey Mouse Adventures from 1990-91. They are the best Mickey stories Floyd Gottfredson didn't write. Okay, I mean they're spectacular books, and I bet you can find names of them.
Thank you. When I started at Disney, the very first week I walked into one of the historical sections on product development and asked, can I just get some of the Floyd Gottfredson Sundays and dailies just to reacquaint myself because I was going to do some Mickey stuff. And I had met Floyd Gottfredson the week he had retired, so, and was a huge Floyd Gottfredson fan. So I didn't hear anything back. They said, sure, we'll do it. And I didn't hear anything back. And 6 months later, giant stacks of all the Xeroxes of the Floyd Gottfredson stuff, and I'm just looking at this going, yeah, I love this. So I immersed myself in all the Gottfredson stuff to a point that I could never have done before since it was, they didn't reprint strips back then. So I was able to see it all, and it was just amazing. And that was the viewpoint of Mickey that I was taking. But yeah, I slipped in all these early little references to lines from Disney films so that people would just enjoy them. You know,
This is why some fan has to go do this. There's no one person with all the knowledge.
So Marv, how did you look at the relationship between Oswald and Mickey? I mean, obviously they're brothers, long lost brothers, and now that you've kind of gotten this Brooklyn voice in Oswald, I mean, how do you see? Like, is it just friendly? Is it combative? Is it still rivalry? I guess.
You think of the older brother. I mean, I don't know how a rabbit and a mouse could be brothers, but let's forget that.
And he's got a cat girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but I accept it. You know, why not? Because they also wear pants. But you have the older brother who somehow vanishes along the way, and the younger brother becomes a superstar. He becomes special. And there's going to be resentment. There's going to be all that sibling rivalry that real people would have. And the thing that makes it all work, or that makes the Disney stuff work so well, is these characters have emotions that you relate to. It's done on an animal basis, but you understand jealousy, you understand anger, you understand Donald going crazy. You understand all these different characters because the emotional core of every single one of them was built into those characters from day one. So here you have the older brother looking at the very, very successful, heroic younger brother, and of course there's going to be some rivalry there, and of course he's going to have some problems, and that's where the tension of stories come from. It's always from the negatives, and as you learn to work together, those things start to change.
This is the first time, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you've written for a video game.
No.
No, this is not the first time.
No, in fact...
I'm just curious, just given your skills, obviously, you know, writing for comics, I mean, what?
No, I've been writing video games for about 8 years now, and what happened was, Warren and I didn't know Warren, we were on a panel at AggieCon, which is in Texas. My wife went there, and I'm a guest and on the panel. And we're on opposite sides of the table. It's like me and Peter on this particular thing. And we were talking about video games, and as I'm talking, every so often from the other side of the table, I'd hear this voice go, "Are you reading my mind?" That's what I keep saying. That's what, yeah. So Warren and I got together afterwards, and then we talked about what Disney material I've been doing all those years anyway. But I've been writing games for years. Besides this one, this year, I guess last year, I worked on The Agency for Sony, and I did PlanetSide 2. I did a lot of work on that. And prior to that, the Green Lantern game, and the DCU MMO, and tons of stuff, tons of other games, some that didn't come out, like Dark Knight, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I've been writing games for years, so the fact that I knew the Disney stuff, loved writing Mickey Mouse, and did games, made it a perfect match.
You know, all you had to do was say Teen Titans and it would have been okay with it. I'm still like sweating up for these two guys.
Actually, with that, Peter, I have to say, I believe the hat was made for you. It fits your head absolutely.
Yeah, obviously, you know, the ears are standing straight up because I'm just that excited to be here.
Very happy rabbi.
Now, for the original Epic Mickey, you wrote the graphic novel, and you're coming back. What's your approach this time?
Well, the approach this time is very much the same as it was the last time. The challenge of taking a game that's very expansive, that can take hours, 6 to 8 hours for a normal gamer, or 24 to 27 for me, and find a way to compress that into a consistent narrative that will fit into, 48 pages? So obviously, now a lot of stuff has to be cut out. On the other hand, there's a certain degree of natural repetition in video games. But if you have a sequence where Mickey has to do roughly the same thing 3 times, but with variations, which is common enough in video games, and I apologize for my voice, 5 days of talking, you have to find a way to capture the essence of that, so that you have him solving the situation, but he does it in a page and a half rather than in 6 or 7 that would be required. And what it really comes down to is finding the nutshell of the story and all the things that are necessary to move the story along and hit the major themes of redemption, as Warren was talking about, and try to have all the things that people are going to remember most prominently about the video game. Everyone's going to remember the fight with the electrical parade Pete's Dragon. I can't just skip over that and go, well, that's a fun sequence, but there's no room for it. You know, there has to be room. You have to make room for it. But you have to find ways to condense it. And you have to do it in a way that doesn't feel like you're just cramming stuff in. It has to be done in an organic fashion. And it is very much a challenge. I mean, the funny thing is that I was with my daughter in Disneyland online for the Peter Pan ride. When my phone rang, I was going to just let it go to voicemail and the thing said Junction Point. I'm going, why is Warren calling me? And he calls me and says, hi, we need someone to write the graphic novel adaptation of Epic Mickey 2. As I'm standing in Disneyland. So I'm going, well, you know, this is, you know, obviously it's going to be done. Because it has to be. And probably the most, you know, I enjoyed writing the graphic novels for both. Probably the most gratifying comic book writing, though, that I did was a digital release called Tales of the Wasteland. Which was actually the first, and I felt a great deal of the weight of history, because it was actually the first time that we were giving a voice, so to speak, to Oswald with giving him actual dialogue. And Tales of the Wasteland was intended to be a bridging point between what the Wasteland was before the Thinner disaster and what it was after. Because when you watch one of these post-apocalyptic movies, you have a frame of reference because you know what the Earth was like beforehand. You didn't have that frame of reference for Wasteland. So the feeling was, let's show the people what life was like there before the Thinner disaster, before Oswald became something of a hermit, you know, all that kind of thing. And that was really tremendously entertaining because I got to do all these variations. I did one entire story. There was a love letter to the Adventurers Club, which was my favorite place in the world. That was Disney related, and it was just tremendously entertaining. But probably my other favorite one was where Oswald decides that he has to find a new way of. That the reason he wasn't successful was that he needed a new image. So he tries on new images, and we had Oswald the Lucky Stiff, because she's a zombie, and we had Oswald the Lucky Devil, where he finds himself going. He's got these little horns and he's going, where am I now? And he looks up and he discovers that he's at the climax of Fantasia. And Turtlebot is reaching down for him and I was like, ah! So it was just a lot of fun doing all that stuff. And I was really grateful to have the opportunity to do it.
Well, good. When will the graphic novel be made available? Will it be at the same time as the release of the game, ahead of the game? Yes?
Yeah.
I see the bobbing ears over there.
Yes. The game is shipping November 18th. Graphic novel will be out. And do we have... Oh, these are a couple pages from the graphic.
Yes. Yeah, the artwork is done. What's the artwork?
Maurizio Petros is one of the great Disney artists in the world, by the way. I've been wanting to work with him for years.
Yeah, he just did an absolutely terrific job. And there was a lot of challenges to it. I mean, for instance, the mad scientist has a lot more dialogue of necessity in the graphic novel than he does. But since all he does is sing, I had to write all kinds of additional songs to conduct him through sequences where he doesn't really need to speak in the original. So writing a character speaking entirely in rhyme, I mean, it was a challenge, but you know, it was a good challenge.
All right, well, November 18th is when the game comes out. That's one thing that's a sort of theme, and I imagine a lot of you have questions for this remarkable panel up here. So I encourage you all to get in line and see if we can... that's right.
Before we go, hold on, let's get in line. Feel free to get in line, it's okay. Go. One thing that I also haven't talked much about... We revealed the existence of this at E3, but I think we actually have some footage that we can show here for the first time publicly. I'm working with a company called Dreamrift, which did Great Password and Monster Tale, and I'm just actually going to let this go apart. Take full advantage of the stereoscopic 3D, top and bottom gameplay is amazing. I'm a little prejudiced. I hope you're all fans of Castle of Illusion because it's a direct tribute to Castle of Illusion and the glory days of 16-bit gaming.
You did not play some of those games back in the early years, and they're some of my favorite platformers, and hopefully you know I love my platformers.
Yeah. You know Castle of Illusion? I mean, it's the first time we're having forgotten video game stuff in Wasteland. So, whole new worlds are opening up.
All right, let's get some questions.
Thank you for making it two-player. My girlfriend knew about the first one. She would not acknowledge the game even existed, would not play with me. As soon as they said two-player, she'd all about it. With the Kinect for the Xbox and the cameras on the 3DS, have you thought about moving into augmented reality, maybe like Alice comedy type?
Well, now I have to tell you to get out of my head. Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. We actually thought about incorporating some of that sort of stuff into the current, well, the game is shipping in November. But I don't know how to solve the sort of free-form exploration problem with Kinect. Kinect is really good for, I'm standing in one place moving, or I'm simulating a sport, or I'm on rails. But it's not so hot for you can go anywhere whenever you want. And if I could figure that out, I'd support Kinect. But right now, I don't have
a
it.
bonus level, Alice comedy?
We did think about having special play modes, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to give everybody the same experience despite platform differences. But I'm thinking about that a lot. I mean, the AR stuff and actually taking the musical numbers, the songs in this game, and making them genuinely interactive. I'm building them into the game mechanics. Those are some of the things I want to be playing with in the future. If enough people buy this one, maybe I get to do it next time.
Thank you.
Hi. First off, I'd like to say that Warren Spector, you are a great game designer. I've been following your stuff for a long time.
Well, thank you.
My question is about...
It's easy when you get to work with people like this.
My question is about the increase in choices and more like complexity in designing the game worlds and how, like what sort of challenges you have, whereas more experienced players who've been playing games for a while can easily navigate those sort of things because they've been used to it, versus a younger player who isn't as experienced with it, but still wants to, experience the game and make their way through it.
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting. You got it kind of reversed. What you see when you make a game where players get to decide how to interact with the world, what you discover is that adults are the ones who have problems, not kids. Adults sit there and they get, I describe it as paralyzed by choice. They sit there and they go, oh, I don't want to look stupid. And games have trained players so well not to think. I mean, games have trained people to solve puzzles and kill things, And asking people to think, what do I want to do here, is really scary for adults who don't want to fail. Kids, they just spray and paint thinner around, hey, guess what? They play. And if you just play, even in Deus Ex, this is true. I mean, in System Shock, in all those games, this is true. If you just play, you'll get past the problems. Keep moving forward like a shark. You'll get there. And where you run into trouble is when adults start thinking. So it's really that's not the problem you think it is. There are plenty of other problems which we can talk about when we have more time.
Yeah, on that note, watch a 7-year-old play Minecraft, and then watch someone your age if you're an adult. It's very, very different.
That is exactly. That's a great point. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Chris. Warren, it's so cool and truly a joy to meet you because I'm a proud Longhorn grad.
Yeah! All right.
My question is actually for the whole
Go
game.
Horns.
What is the one thing you're most...
That was not the line.
What's the one thing you're most looking forward to players discovering in Epic Mickey 2?
The thing that I don't know is possible. That's always it, right? I mean, from the time I worked on Ultima 6, that's my whole job is about letting you be creative and getting out of the way. I mean, I tell my designers all the time, this is not about how clever and creative people are. This is about letting players show how clever and creative they are. So if there's any, I will go on record right now, you are all on notice right now that you have to send me email. My email is not hard to find, okay? I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but it's not hard to find. You are now obliged to email me if in Disney Epic Mickey 2 you find a single place where, once you get past training, where you must use paint or must use thinner or have to do something, okay? There's always another way. That was true in Deus Ex too. I mean, I ran into someone the other day who told me he tried to play Deus Ex and it was too hard because he couldn't get past a certain problem. And I said, well, what did you try to do? And he said, well, I tried to kill all those guns. I said, well, did you think maybe you could try not shooting your gun and setting off the, I mean, try something else. Always try something else. If you find a place where you must do something in Mickey 2, let me know because I have a designer I've got to kick really hard.
Thanks, they will be proud.
Well, for people on the panel, is there something you're looking forward to these guys discovering when they play the game?
I'm not going to say anything because we have a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's really comfortable.
I just think maybe, from my point of view, those of you who've forgotten how cool Disney can be, it's really cool, and I think you'll find things that you love that you've forgotten that you cared about so much.
All right.
Personally, I'd like to say that me and my mom are huge fans of the game, and we're going to play it a lot now that's co-op. But I also want to ask, you said that now with Oswald you can program or reprogram or destroy the robots, but when you're playing in single player mode, do you still control if you reprogram or if you destroy?
Actually, you don't control, okay, you have some limited control over Oswald in single player. What happened was, I sort of plan out several games in advance. So I knew in 2005, when I first started thinking about the first game, I knew that we were going to do co-op in the second game. And I already know what the third game's going to be if I don't buy it. Buy the second one, and I get lucky enough to do the third one. All I want to do is co-op. And Chase Jones, who's my design director, came to me one day and said, I want to do co-op AI. I want to do single player AI for Oswald. And I just said, no. We're taking enough risk. We're going multi-platform, which we haven't done as a team yet. And we're going co-op, which I've been scared to do for decades. Let's not take any more risk here. He said, no, I really want to do this. And I said, okay, you do realize that choices have consequences. And this is a big choice you're making here, Chase. And he said, yeah, I want to do it. And so he did. So Oswald, he uses all of his unique abilities in the game, even in single player. But he only uses them in specific places where we pull up icons that say this is a place where Oswald can be useful if you want to use it. And so if you see one of those, you can call Oswald and he'll help you out in ways that I want everybody to discover for themselves. And if you're like in that boss battle there in single player, he can resurrect Mickey. I mean, they can save each other. So if you puddle is what we call it. Nobody dies in a cartoon. If you puddle, Mickey can restore Oswald, and Oswald can restore Mickey. And so he'll use his abilities. But if there's a second player, you can pick up a controller any time. It's drop in, drop out co-op. So you can if someone just jumps in and picks up the controller, you can use those abilities anywhere. Which means that not only is there a paint path and a thinner path and a middle path, there's a co-op paint path, a co-op thinner path, and a co-op. I mean, it's not like there's a specific path, but different things happen if you're playing differently alone, and if you're playing differently with a friend. Is that making, was that English?
Yeah.
We only have time for one more question.
Oh my goodness.
I do apologize to the rest of the line.
All right, hello. I'm trying to say much respect and love for the hard work you did in the first Epic Mickey. It's one of the few games that I ever got my family into, so it was a great experience. And I'm pretty sure Adam would agree that it's great seeing the platforming genre still alive and well. I love that.
Adam does think that.
Well, the whole reason I made I wanted to make that first game was because I looked at games I absolutely love and adore, like the Mario games and the Zelda games, and they are so beautiful now, and they sound so great, but from a gameplay perspective, they haven't changed in like 20 years, and it was really frustrating me. So I wanted to see if we could do something that that would change things up a little bit in that category. So
Yeah,
that one feels like a platformer or an adventure game that's kind of different.
Okay,
Sorry, answer your question.
No, I think I was gonna ask you, like, the first one was one of the few games that were equally fantastic in style and substance. And the second one, you raised the stakes in so many great features and little tidbits here and there. How do you motivate, or did you feel it was daunting to raise the stakes and being innovative and artistic and gameplay?
No. I mean, it's funny. No, seriously. I mean, it's funny. People think I should be afraid to make a Mickey Mouse game. It's like, weren't you scared? Wasn't it daunting? Wasn't it intimidating? It's like, no, I mean, we're making video games, right? I mean, it's not like people die if we fail. We're making games. So really, I felt a huge sense of responsibility because every human on planet Earth has a relationship with Mickey Mouse. So you don't want to be the guy who screws it up. But I wasn't daunted by that. And look, I mean, I told my wife, my lovely wife is sitting out here somewhere, when I predecease her, which I better, my tombstone better read, fail gloriously.
I have a feeling we're not worried about the fail part. It's going to be practical.
Fail is easy, glorious is a little tougher. But I mean, again, if you're just making video games, why would you ever do something easy or well understood? I mean, the cost of failure isn't nothing. It's I'm embarrassed.
Risk. Risk is business.
Everyone, I think we're out of time. We have a round of applause. Also, if you were one of the ones who asked the question, please see this young lady over here with an e-ticket for you.
Actually, hold on, I have